We are following breaking news right now. SkyCal over a police pursuit. LAPD is pursuing a stolen vehicle, and I believe we just saw a pit maneuver happen. I'm going to bring in our Mark Lou. They're pursuing this white pickup truck, which we know is stolen, and it looks like they just bumped the back of it, Mark, seconds ago.
Yeah, code 37 vehicle. That's what we heard on the scanners. LAPD West Valley in pursuit of what they're calling a white GMC pickup. That's exactly what we see right there. Very close moves here by the LAPD unit that is in the lead right there. We've seen one attempted pit maneuver. This is a heavy vehicle for doing a pit maneuver, but it certainly is possible. These are about the right speeds, maybe a little bit faster. 25 to 35 miles an hour is exactly the speed that you want for a successful pit maneuver. You could go a little higher sometimes. This area right here, we apologize for the signal from SkyCal. We're trying to get that tune back in. That blue screen you see right there means that we have lost the signal with SkyCal.
But as we were losing it, it looked like they were attempting a pit maneuver again. You know, it's the white pickup truck is suddenly picking up speed, but it was going much slower when they first tried it, Mark.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And, you know, this is the area that they would want to do this on. It doesn't look like there's really any traffic on this road here. Looking at the radar, I'm trying to get a better idea. This is right by the Santa Monica Pier.
Okay.
We had a pursuit end the other day here. If my memory serves correct, it was actually right in front of the pier entrance. So this is the second time in about a week now that we have had a pursuit go through Pacific Coast Highway here right near the pier in Santa Monica. Now, Sheba, this started in LAPD's West LA area. These are West LA officers that are pursuing this truck. We know the want is stolen vehicle. Don't have any information yet on the number of people inside besides the driver.
Right.
Now, a hard U-turn.
And the driver has the window down. It's interesting and seems to be making hand motions out.
Yeah, I mean, we don't know who those hand motions are for right now. Those are pretty tinted windows. It's going to be difficult to see what's inside. Now, hard on the brakes.
Okay, a hard stop.
And then back moving again here. Unclear if LAPD knows where this vehicle was stolen from yet, if it was their agency that took the stolen vehicle report. We're trying to get some more information on that, or if it was stolen from somewhere else. But a heavy-duty truck like this, LAPD certainly is going to be concerned about the driving here, the aggressive driving.
Right.
This kind of a high-profile vehicle does not stop on a dime, and certainly there's a lot of force behind this vehicle. We've already seen, like you said, one pit maneuver. They may try it again, but as they head here on PCH through Santa Monica.
And there's that arm out of the window again.
It does look like the driver putting his arm out, making some sort of gesture, unsure if that's for officers or for other drivers in the area. But now just going just about 25 miles an hour here back towards the freeway, back towards the 10 freeway, which if this driver gets back on, you know, they'll take them back into the Brentwood area here, the Santa Monica Sawtelle area north of LAX.
Yeah, but a very dangerous driver. You know, when we first came to him, he was going under 20 miles per hour. It almost seemed like he was slowing to a stop. That's when the LAPD attempted that first pit maneuver, and it seems though their actions to try to get him to stop have only ramped up his driving to be more erratic, and he's going at much faster speeds, it seems, the more they try to stop him, Mark. So you wonder what's going through his mind if there's a certain destination he's trying to make it to.
Yeah, that's true. And Sheba, I'll tell you, I'm working with one of the great assignment editors on our desk right now who, like me, have heard on the scanners a want here besides stolen vehicle. And we're trying to get LAPD to give us more information about this. But they're saying in addition to this being a stolen vehicle that the want, this is one we have not heard in a long time, and that is elder abuse. There's a possibility the driver here maybe wanted for some kind of elder abuse. The officers in this chase now very fast now. That was a rapid acceleration.
Yeah. Till 100 miles per hour.
The driver has floored it on this GMC Sierra and putting all the horsepower there behind the driver. And we can see how fast this truck has picked up now on the 10 eastbound. LAPD units still behind, as well as that air unit overhead. They are going to be tracking this truck, I should say, if LAPD units end up going behind. The longer they stay on the freeway, Sheba, the likelihood increases that CHP may also join this chase.
Get involved. Yeah, because again, it looked like the driver was slowing down. It also appeared at one point the window was down. It's tinted windows and it's very hard to see, but the driver kept putting an arm out, making gestures. We don't know if that was towards police, people in the car, other drivers around, but that seems to have stopped, and whatever thought process they had, it seems to have changed. They're now accelerating at speeds close to 100 and over 100 miles per hour. When we first picked up this chase just a few minutes ago, they were going under 20 miles per hour and seemed to be slowing on the interstate. Now it seems like they've rolled the window up and are really focused on gaining some speed and getting away from these officers, Mark, which also the officers have been so close. We can't say that they don't know they're being pursued. They clearly understand that police are behind them and have even bumped them a few times.
Yeah, this is definitely not a tracking mode or a surveillance mode that we've seen LAPD do in the past, where they sometimes back off, try to give the driver a little bit space. The thought process behind that tactic is to hope the driver will calm down a little bit, perhaps come to their senses,
right,
get out and walk. Not the case here. LAPD staying directly behind this suspect. That could be an indication of several things. One, they certainly, they may not know the identity of the suspect, in which case they don't want to engage the possibility that they could lose this person in a foot chase. Or this person is simply a violent suspect that they need to take into custody today, now, at the end of this pursuit, which could indicate why officers are pursuing so aggressively. It could also be an indication as to why they are not handing this over to the CHP, even though it was on a major freeway. The 10 freeway now back off on surface streets here. I'm going to look at the radar and check.
Yeah, I was just about to say, now back on surface streets.
Yeah, we're just north of Santa Monica Airport here in this area. Not a lot of air traffic in this area. That's good. Just some media airships. The LAPD helicopter overhead as well. The airspace is still pretty clear here. So, SkyCal giving us a great look here as we continue to head what is essentially westbound back towards the beach on Pico Boulevard. Basically bringing us back to where we just were, Sheba, to the Santa Monica area if they continue on this trajectory.
Yeah, it seems they do want to stay in this area. Again, it seems the window's down and they appear to be making some kind of gesture out of the window. Again, we don't know how many people are in the vehicle. It's always, though, nerve-wracking to see them on surface streets, especially when we've seen high speeds and erratic driving from this driver. It's also about to be lunchtime. You imagine people will be on the roadways going out for lunch. But they do seem to have slowed speeds again now that they're on surface streets, and we see the LAPD right behind them. So they're aware that they're there. At one point, it appeared they were going to stop. They seem to have changed their minds and are now moving on surface streets as opposed to the interstate, which, is always more stressful, especially you think about pedestrians and people in the area who don't know that this chase is happening. Yeah,
Sheba, I'll tell you, SkyCal just zoomed out there and gave us a look at, I counted 8 LAPD patrol units behind. That is a fairly large, what they call pursuit package. They will sometimes the watch commander will describe a pursuit package. That's the number of police officers that will be involved in this chase. This is a big one. 8 units is a lot of patrol vehicles to be behind, so closely behind too. And there we we see that those hand gestures of almost the sign of a relaxed driver, something that you would do if you were just casually driving.
Like elbow rested on the driver's side window, which appears to be down, but we keep seeing what appears to be pointing.
Yeah, pointing. I do see that as well. It's unclear if that driver is trying to gesture to LAPD officers or if this is just some kind of a casual motion that this driver is engaging. Gone from over 100 miles an hour on the 10 freeway now to this casual 30-mile-an-hour drive westbound on Pico Boulevard. And again, we're seeing what looks like those hand gestures, as you mentioned, Sheba. Very strange and unclear what this driver is trying to accomplish here with that.
Right. You wonder if the driver has some destination in this area since he's gotten off the interstate that they want to be close to or thinking about stopping, because the speeds have drastically gone from over 100 miles per hour to around 30 miles per hour now, but continued forward motion.
Okay, now we're going to make what I believe is a northbound turn here. It's either on 12th or possibly Lincoln, not sure. But the other thing that I want to mention here is that this is a reportedly stolen vehicle. So a lot of times when we see pursuits involving stolen vehicles, this vehicle does not belong to the driver, which is always worrisome to LAPD because there's always sort of an innate behavior with drivers when they own their own vehicle. They tend to be a little bit more careful. This driver may not care at all for the condition of this vehicle, and for a vehicle the size of a white GMC Sierra that we see there. They can have as much as 420 horsepower, and they're very heavy vehicles if it's a 1500. So this is certainly what LAPD is considering when they deal with ending this pursuit as soon as possible. That does look like an adult man there with a baseball cap, blue shirt. And now it looks like perhaps...
It almost looked like cheering.
Or he's listening to music.
Ooh, oh, yeah, like fist pumps.
It could be that he's listening to music, and he really is behaving like this may be one of his last days of freedom here, because he will be going to jail after a pursuit of this nature. So unclear if this driver is just trying to prolong this pursuit for no other reason than he knows that he's probably going to go to jail, or there's actually some attempt to get somewhere before surrendering. Unclear now at this point as we continue southbound here on Lincoln. We're going to go closer and closer now to Marina Del Rey if we continue on this trajectory. But as I say that, now we're making another turn here. I believe it's back to be an eastbound turn, which would take us back to where we were before, closer to the 10 and the 405.
Yeah, the driver seems to be staying in this area. And just about 10 minutes ago, when we first checked in on this pursuit, LAPD was attempting a pit maneuver. The driver was going really slow, under 20 miles per hour at some moments on the interstate. And then it seemed after LAPD attempted that pit maneuver multiple times, the driver got a little more erratic, started going up to 100 miles per hour in speeds. We saw him on the 10, but now he's back on surface streets, keeps making hand motions out of the window of this stolen white GMC, but kind of staying in the same area as you've been saying, Mark. So, you know, police, I'm sure, are very nervous about this being on surface streets as we approach lunchtime, more people moving around. So far, we have not seen any interactions with other vehicles or people, and we hope that it stays that way because this driver does not seem to be stopping anytime soon.
Yeah, and you know what? That's exactly right. I am now listening to radio traffic between the air commander and the watch commander. LAPD officers are coming to the conclusion that this driver does appear to want to stay in this area here south of the 10 freeway, just south of Santa Monica and the Venice area. And now they are beginning to discuss the possibility of putting up spike strips. The nature of this driver here on surface streets, they're going only about 30 to 35 miles an hour. They tend to go in a straight line here. So the air commander is coordinating with units on the ground here in the Venice area to possibly start setting up possibilities of spike strips at major intersections. They're going to be able to control those intersections to make sure that there are members of the public do not accidentally run over one of those spike strips. But there will be an officer there. It looks like at perhaps one of these major intersections to throw some spike strips in front of this driver and bring this pursuit to an end.
He's putting that hat we talked about he's wearing out of the vehicle now. You wonder if that's some kind of symbol to surrender, or, you know, he's been keeping his hand out of the vehicle for most of this pursuit. Cutting across an intersection there where clearly it was not his turn to go. So, yeah, the hat out the window doesn't seem to mean that he's surrendering, Mark.
No, and now we've suddenly seen hard on the gas here, 75 miles an hour on Ocean Park Boulevard. That is way too fast for this road, and also blowing through stoplights, complete disregard. At some points, he almost looked like he was about to go on the other side of Ocean Park Boulevard. Very close calls there with that red pickup and going again through intersections, no regard for other cars here. This is going to heighten up the danger and anxiety for the police officers that are going to be chasing this driver, and also increases the need to bring this pursuit to an end as soon as possible.
Yeah, this is kind of the first time we've seen him get behind other vehicles. He did seem to slow back down. He's going through these erratic periods of high speed of close to 100 or over 100 miles per hour, and then back down to almost 25, 30 miles per hour. But we did see that hat come out of the window. The driver just seems to be keeping the window down, feeling very casual, making all kind of hand movements, but they don't actually seem to be signaling anything. I also noticed that damage on the back of the vehicle. I think that came from that pit maneuver the LAPD attempted around 11:30 when the vehicle had slowed on the interstate. They bumped it, tried to stop it. It was not successful, but it did cause some damage to the back of that vehicle.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I think that damage is... Oh, and now we're going across the island there, across the median, making a U-turn, reversing course. Once again, whenever this driver gets close to the beach, they turn around. In this particular case, I'm sorry, they were already getting closer to the freeway. Now they're heading back towards the beach again. This is almost directly north of Santa Monica Airport here on Ocean Park Boulevard. So again, LAPD, they have recognized this as well, that this driver seems to want to stay right here in this area north of the airport, heading towards the beach in the Venice area and then back towards the freeways. mainly on the main roads like Pico Boulevard or Ocean Park Boulevard here. This may be where they ultimately set up those spike strips, Sheba.
Interesting. And we see them try to stay in an area sometimes because they have a family member or a relative, or they live nearby, and I guess it feels more comforting, or they want to surrender sometimes in front of people they know. We have no idea why the suspect is staying in this area, but it does seem pretty apparent that the suspect wants to stay in this general area. They've been in the same area for about 10 minutes now, from the interstate to surface streets and back. And, you know, Mark, you were saying this was such a durable vehicle, how strong it was. I think we saw that when the vehicle hopped the median without even hesitating just a moment ago.
Yeah, plenty of horsepower here. Unclear if there's anything in the bed because it looks like it's got a bed
stopping.
Top. This is the first time that we've seen this driver stop now here. Possibly the consideration of the end of this pursuit. LAPD taking their standard tactic here. Will they approach with their doors open, guns drawn? They will be giving commands to this driver. Don't see any reaction yet from the driver. No indication of hands out the window. That's what they want to see immediately.
Okay.
They're going to be asking right now, and this driver inching forward. So this may not be the end. This may just be another part of the game the driver is playing here. Unclear what their intentions are, but LAPD is going to treat this as a dangerous subject, as they have seen that this driver is willing to continue after an attempted pit maneuver. Many drivers will give up even if there's just an attempt at a pit maneuver. This driver has shown a propensity not to do that. Also, disregard for traffic violations and going over the median. So the LAPD officers are going to have their guns drawn here, giving the driver commands: roll down the window, throw the keys out, and put your arms out. That's what they want to see. And not this. On the gas again here, as this driver now speeding up very rapidly, using that large engine there, to accelerate up to 50 miles an hour in just under about 5 seconds. So again, going right through intersections. LAPD officers going to stay right behind the air unit overhead, as well as this pursuit now continues once again towards the beach, Sheba.
Yeah, it is very interesting. You wonder if that driver was actually thinking about surrendering and got nervous and decided to take off. Was he doing that to throw officers off so they would be a little bit further behind him? Because we've been saying there's about 8 LAPD vehicles very close behind this driver. And this is a person we don't know. Officers don't know how dangerous they are. They're wanted for a stolen vehicle. They appear to be stopping again. And also for some kind of incident of elder abuse. So we really don't know what kind of suspect, and officers don't know what kind of person they're approaching, what they're capable of, or how many people are in this vehicle. The windows are so dark and tinted, we can only see the driver, which appears to be a male, wearing a hat because he keeps flailing his arms out of the window, relaxing his elbow, pumping his fists. Seeming that he wants to communicate with officers, or maybe, as you said, he's just rocking out to his music. But we've seen him kind of come to 2 stalls in the past few minutes, as though he is going to stop. And you just wonder what's going through his head. He's been circling this same neighborhood. So is he trying to communicate with someone to come outside because he wants to surrender in front of people he knows? Is this an area that's familiar to him so he feels comfortable? We're really just not sure.
Yeah, Sheba, and I'll say we just got a bit of new information from LAPD headquarters. My colleagues on the assignment desk in the newsroom have confirmed with a LAPD spokesperson in downtown LA that the want on this vehicle is that it is a stolen vehicle and the driver is an elder abuse suspect. Now, they're not saying if those 2 crimes are linked in any way, or they are just this person is wanted for driving a stolen vehicle and also being an elder abuse suspect. No information on where or how or the nature of that elder abuse. That is one that we usually have not seen in a pursuit. That's not common. Certainly elder abuse crimes happen in the city of LA, but it's not often that we see a pursuit involving an elder abuse suspect. And it looks like we're about to see another pit maneuver right here, right in that intersection. And again, because of the heavy nature of this full-sized pickup, the pit maneuver is not getting a lot of traction here.
No, it's really not doing anything. The vehicle barely seems affected by them trying to stop it. You know, it's also interesting. Does this person know they're wanted right now for elder abuse, or was this a separate incident of them stealing a vehicle and that came up on their record? Is that possible?
It's very possible. Again, Sheba, LAPD wouldn't tell us if the stolen vehicle crime and the elder abuse crime are somehow linked. It's just that this suspect is wanted for both of those crimes. So they could be completely separate crimes that happened on separate days, or perhaps they happened at the same time. Now, right there, that may have been an attempt at a spike strip. Yeah, it's right there in the center of the intersection. I did not see whether or not that spike strip got any purchase, whether or not it was able to strike the tires.
If it did, you know, you can't really tell. It doesn't seem like anything they've done besides a little bit of damage to that rear end has really impacted this vehicle. We've seen it jump the median. We've seen them try to stop it several times with these pit maneuvers, and nothing's really slowing him down, it seems, except when he erratically wants to slow down or stop, which seems for no reason. We've seen him go speeds of up to 100 miles per hour, but that was maybe 10 minutes ago. He's been kind of staying near this 30 miles per hour range for the past few minutes.
That's exactly right. You know, another thing that I just realized that one of the reasons why that pit maneuver may not be working as well as it should is if there is a lot of material in the back of that pickup, we can't see it because it's got a bed top. If it's full of material, that could make the rear end of this truck much heavier, which would mean that it would take a greater amount of force to execute a pit maneuver here. That's just the physics of how pit maneuvers work. So that could give an advantage to the driver here in being able to get out of the pit maneuver like we saw. Or it could just be that this is such a heavy-duty truck that the LAPD units just don't have enough speed or power to get a good spin around, a fishtail on that truck, and that driver's going to be able to keep going. Once again, we see a U-turn back the other direction.
To stay in the same area.
This is the same area. Yeah, once again, we are seeing this is about as close to the beach as this truck has gotten. Makes it to just about, let's see, what is this, Lincoln Boulevard, and then this driver likes to turn around again. So LAPD, though, and West LA LAPD units, very close. You can see that LAPD airship overhead. That's Air 18. The air commander providing constant surveillance and command and control for the officers here. Now a hard left here onto Maple. This is a street we haven't been on before, I don't believe, or perhaps we have actually, as this smaller street in the neighborhood of Venice. It doesn't have a lot of cars on it right now, just the time of day. There's not a lot of traffic, certainly cars parked on the side, but nobody in front of this pickup driver as he continues on this pursuit this afternoon here, almost coming up to the noon hour.
I know, it was interesting also seeing him make that U-turn just a few seconds ago, because you saw at least 7 or 8 LAPD vehicles, you know, now they have to make the U-turn to follow him again. They've been very close to him since we started following this pursuit, attempted several pit maneuvers. They don't seem to be impacting the vehicle, and as you're seeing now, continuing to make these hand motions out of the window, which at some points just look like fist pumps. Some points it looks like he's trying to give directions to someone. We've got some tree coverage here, which is kind of blocking our view, but the driver is still at pretty slow speeds. We saw him go, you know, 70 miles per hour on some surface streets earlier, over 100 miles per hour on the interstate. So far, we haven't, thank goodness, seen him interact with any. I see somebody pedestrian standing on the sidewalk, interact with any pedestrians or other vehicles, which is amazing with this erratic driving that we're seeing in the middle of the day on surface streets. And he keeps making these hard turns like we saw right there, Mark, because as we're saying, it does not appear that he wants to leave this area.
Yeah, now he's making an even smaller circle here in this area around Oak Street and 11th and Lincoln and Ocean Park Boulevard. I just heard the air commander again talk to allied agencies and say that, you know, our officers are in pursuit. And they describe it as a Code 37 vehicle with an elder abuse suspect inside. So
we've got another really hard stop.
Yeah, hard stop here. Let me turn down my scanners here so I can focus on what we're seeing. And again, that LAPD unit came right up behind, almost hit the back end of that pickup truck right there. You can see SkyCal looking to see if there's any damage. Boy, those windows are very dark, Sheba. Difficult to tell if there's anybody in there. Doesn't appear to be anybody in the passenger seat.
Right, I don't see any motion on that side.
I see a handicap placard. That looks like a handicap placard there on the rear view mirror.
Right.
It's unclear if this car is somehow involved with that elder abuse report.
Okay.
First time we've seen the driver's side door open and now the window coming down. This perhaps is a good sign.
He appears to be speaking to officers.
Yeah, he's certainly communicating with officers. Looks like a bald man. He took his hat off. And now officers taking that standard approach position, guns drawn. That officer right there, you see that SkyCal zoomed in on that green rifle. That's a 40 millimeter less than lethal rifle used to subdue suspects. And again, this driver refusing to comply. Back on the gas. Into the neighborhood of Venice again, Sheba.
Yeah, I think this is the third time we've seen him stop. The officers think he is actually stopping. They get out of the vehicle, and it seems like once they get out of the vehicle and in a stance and start talking to him, I'm sure trying to coax him to get out, as you said, giving him instructions to throw his keys and exit the vehicle. He seems to change his mind and take off. And again, we're not sure if he's actually trying to surrender and getting nervous and changing his mind, if he even is in his right mind right now, or if he's just doing that to throw officers off. Because again, we kind of see him accelerate speed, even though he stays in the same area after he does these stops.
Yeah, that's exactly right. We don't know what he said to those officers. Once again, he has his hand out in that relaxed position, almost a nonchalant way of driving. Again, raising his fist like that. Unclear if he's doing that to signal to people outside the truck on the sidewalk or if he's listening to music. We just don't know. But certainly it indicates a very cavalier attitude on the part of this driver, which is just probably alarming for officers, as this driver does not appear to be taking anything serious. While this is an extremely dangerous situation that he's putting members of the public and law enforcement and himself in during this pursuit.
Just right there, we see him, you know, with complete disregard for traffic signals, which he has been this whole time, even as he's going a little bit slower. I think some people in the area, it appears, are looking on, but that's probably because there's 8 LAPD vehicles behind him. It's very clear that he's being pursued, which actually might be keeping people safe. That's a good thing, but you see him there on the wrong side of the turning lane. He has not been, very close call with a vehicle there, but so far we haven't seen him hit actually anything. There's some damage to the back of the vehicle, but that was because around 11:30 we saw LAPD start attempting pit maneuvers. They've tried about 3 times now to stop him, and it has been unsuccessful because this white truck seems to be in great shape, very durable. We saw him hop the median several times on some of these turns without even hesitating. And again, we've seen him stop multiple times in the past 20 minutes, but none of these stops are actually leading to him getting out of the vehicle and surrendering. The other interesting thing is we've been watching this for about 30 minutes now, Mark, and the suspect is committed to staying in this area.
Yeah, and that's exactly right, Sheba. And this is going to actually become a situation for LAPD that they are going to have to consider the longer this goes on. The longer that this suspect stays in this area, the more and more people are going to come out of their homes and businesses to see and investigate why sirens continue to go through their neighborhood. When you hear sirens 3 or 4 times in your neighborhood or in your business, you're very likely going to step outside and say, is there something going on? And that's why I think we are seeing more and more pedestrians come out with their phones out. Certainly, they're also perhaps watching KCAL or CBS and seeing this pursuit. And this is a byproduct of having a pursuit stay in an area for too long a time. More and more pedestrians come out and watch what is happening. That unfortunately ratchets up the danger for everyone involved. LAPD always recommends, please do not get involved with these things. Stay inside. Don't come out of your homes or businesses until this is what they would call Code 4, which is the police code for all clear, suspect in custody. So that could be an explanation as to why we are now seeing people on the sidewalks and street corners with their phones out. They just know there's a pursuit in their neighborhood this afternoon.
Absolutely. It's very interesting to try to get into the mind of what this driver is doing, because there's just been so much erratic behavior on the roadways. We're seeing there the video earlier of him just crossing the median, but making these U-turns to stay in this area. It's almost noon now. So you think about people going out to lunch, people hearing all the sirens in the area, as you said, Mark, and really stepping out to figure out what's going on. But people should not do that. We want them to stay safe because you don't know what a driver like this is going to do.
Yeah, Sheba, I was just listening to some radio traffic, speaking to my colleagues in the newsroom. LAPD does not have any information yet that those spike strips were successful in any way. It's unclear. They didn't get a good visual on whether or not the tire went over the spike strip, and there is no visual confirmation that we see any deflation of those tires yet. And look, this bicyclist now crossing directly in front of LAPD officers, not a good idea. But now we are seeing this driver slow down to a crawl, just about 2 miles an hour. This is now the 2nd time that we have seen this driver come to a stop, maybe the 3rd time. It's unclear if this will be the end of the pursuit or once again just a game that this driver is playing with LAPD officers as they go very slowly on Venice Boulevard here.
And Mark, Amy Johnson here. You are watching KCAL News at noon, where we continue to follow this breaking news. This is a stolen white truck that you see there, a GMC Sierra. That suspect behind the wheel, we're watching as the door is opening right now. This person walking very aggressively and then running back to the truck there, Mark. You see that?
This is the furthest that we have seen, Amy, of the driver getting out of that truck. He's opened the door slightly a few times, rolled down the window, talked to police officers. But this is the first time we have seen that driver physically get out. He made a fairly aggressive walk back towards LAPD officers. They do not ever give suspects usually commands to walk directly towards them. They don't want that to happen. They usually have the suspect turn around and walk backwards. But in this particular case, that driver got immediately back into the truck and now slowly inching their way along Venice Boulevard. This is the furthest south this pursuit has happened. This is a good sign. Driver out now with their hands up, walking directly towards LAPD officers. That's not what they're commanding him to do. But now looks like a fight. And that looked like that suspect may have tried to throw a punch at that LAPD officer. And now 8 officers tackling that suspect. He's going to be taken into custody.
Exactly, Mark. I mean, this person definitely not following the commands that the officers always give, which, as you said, turn around, you walk backwards, get down on your knees, but never, never do they want you to walk directly at them like that. And this person, we've seen this once before, really walking towards those officers with a very aggressive stance. This time, that suspect had something in his hand, Mark. I don't know if you could tell what was in his right hand.
It might have been his hat, Amy.
Okay.
He has taken his hat on and off several times. He has held it in his hand. It happened very quickly. I wasn't sure, but LAPD officers must have visually identified that as not a weapon, because anytime a suspect approaches them in that sort of aggressive nature with a weapon in their hand, you're almost likely to see some kind of engagement there. But it looks like LAPD officers were able to take the suspect into custody without too much injury to either him or the other officers. It looks like his face may be bruised up here. That certainly was a struggle on the ground. I am hearing a call for LAFD fire paramedics here to get a look at the suspect. That's pretty standard after a rough arrest like that. And so now they have cleared that pickup truck. Looks like it's code for the driver, the only one in that pickup truck. And now it seems his pursuit has finally come to an end, Amy.
Exactly, Mark. It was, again, a stolen truck. Also, that suspect behind the wheel accused of elder abuse. We saw along this pursuit a couple attempts at pit maneuvers as well as spike strips that were put down. This person finally just stopping and opening up that door. We saw it happen twice. The second time walking very aggressively with what appeared to be that hat in his hand. And then he threw a punch when he walked towards those officers, and they did certainly subdue him on the ground, and now they are checking him for any weapons and will be putting him in the patrol car there. Also, we saw officers checking out this white GMC Sierra to see if anyone else was inside. Of course, the windows tinted and someone could be laying down in the back, so they always have to be careful and check to see if there's anyone else in the vehicle. But at this point, it ended really in the best way possible with no one, on the road being hurt with a crash or any problems like that. The suspect, again, throwing a punch, officers subduing that suspect. But we're watching now as they kind of wrap things up here. And we want to show you a little earlier, I believe that's what we're showing now, earlier in this pursuit where, I'm sorry. Okay, we're going to update the story a little later, Mark. Thank you.